In this video, we'll be discussing the rise of the Mocro Maffia in the Netherlands, a criminal organization that has become a major force in the country's drug trade and other illicit activities. The Mocro Maffia, also known as the Moroccan Mafia, is a loosely organized group of Moroccan and Dutch-Moroccan criminal gangs that operate primarily in the Netherlands. The group first emerged in the late 1990s and early 2000s, and has since grown to become one of the most powerful and influential criminal organizations in the country. The Mocro Maffia began as a small group of Moroccan and Dutch-Moroccan criminals who were involved in drug trafficking and other illicit activities in the Netherlands. As the group grew in size and influence, it began to diversify its operations and expand into other areas of criminal activity, such as money laundering and extortion. One of the factors that contributed to the growth of the Mocro Maffia was its ability to adapt to changing circumstances. For example, as the Dutch authorities cracked down on the illegal cannabis trade in the Netherlands, the Mocro Maffia began to focus more on the import and distribution of synthetic drugs, such as ecstasy and methamphetamine. The Mocro Maffia also expanded its operations beyond the Netherlands, establishing connections and networks in other countries in Europe and beyond. This helped the group to diversify its sources of income and reduce its reliance on any one particular market or activity. The Mocro Maffia is primarily involved in drug trafficking, particularly the import and distribution of cannabis and synthetic drugs. The group is known for its sophisticated networks and use of violence to protect its interests and intimidate rivals. In addition to drug trafficking, the Mocro Maffia is also involved in money laundering, extortion, and other illegal activities. Here are some examples of crimes that the Mocro Maffia has been linked to. Drug trafficking. The Mocro Maffia is primarily involved in drug trafficking, particularly the import and distribution of cannabis and synthetic drugs. The group is known for its sophisticated networks and use of violence to protect its interests and intimidate rivals. Money laundering. The Mocro Maffia is also involved in money laundering, which involves hiding the proceeds of criminal activities by transferring them through a series of transactions to make them appear legitimate. Extortion. The Mocro Maffia has been linked to extortion, which involves using threats or intimidation to force someone to do something against their will. Murder. There have been a number of high-profile murders in the Netherlands that have been linked to the Mocro Maffia. These include the assassination of lawyer Dirk Wiersum in 2019, which was believed to be in retaliation for his work as a witness protection lawyer in cases involving the Mocro Maffia. Fraud. The Mocro Maffia has also been linked to fraud, including identity fraud and other types of financial fraud. It is important to note that the Mocro Maffia is a loosely organized group and not all of its members are involved in all of these crimes. However, the group is known for its involvement in a range of illegal activities, and its members have been linked to a number of high-profile crimes in the Netherlands and beyond. In recent years, the Mocro Maffia has expanded its operations beyond the Netherlands, establishing connections and networks in other countries in Europe and beyond. The group has been linked to drug trafficking, money laundering, and other illegal activities in countries such as Belgium, Spain, and Germany. The Dutch authorities have been working to combat the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations in the country. In recent years, there have been a number of high-profile arrests and convictions of Mocro Maffia members, and the Dutch government has implemented a number of initiatives and programs aimed at disrupting the group's operations and reducing its influence. The Mocro Maffia is a loosely organized group, and its leadership structure is not as hierarchical as that of traditional organized crime groups. However, there are several key figures who are known to be influential within the organization. These individuals often operate behind the scenes and are not well known to the general public. One of the most well-known leaders of the Mocro Maffia is Samir A., also known as the Boss of Bosses. Samir A. is believed to be the head of one of the largest and most powerful factions within the Mocro Maffia, and has been linked to a number of high-profile criminal activities. Another notable leader is Ridouan Taghi, also known as the Untouchable, who is believed to be the leader of another major faction within the Mocro Maffia. Taghi is known for his use of violence and intimidation to protect the interests of the organization. Several leaders of the Mocro Maffia have been arrested and convicted in recent years. In 2021, Samir A. was arrested and charged with multiple counts of drug trafficking, money laundering, and membership of a criminal organization. In 2020, Ridwan Taghi was also arrested and charged with similar offenses. Both men are currently awaiting trial. The rise of the Mocro Maffia has had a significant impact on the communities where the group operates. The Mocro Maffia is known for using violence and intimidation to protect its interests, and this has created a climate of fear in some neighborhoods. In addition, the group's involvement in drug trafficking has contributed to the proliferation of drugs and related crime in these areas. In response to the rise of the Mocro Maffia and its impact on their communities, a number of community groups and organizations have formed in the Netherlands to address the issue. These groups often work with local authorities and law enforcement agencies to try to reduce the influence of the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations, and to promote safety and security in their neighborhoods. The Dutch government has also taken a number of steps to address the rise of the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations in the country. In addition to implementing law enforcement initiatives and programs, the government has also focused on addressing the underlying social and economic factors that contribute to the growth of these groups. This has included investing in education and employment programs in disadvantaged communities, and working to promote social integration and inclusion. In recent years, the Mocro Maffia has expanded its operations beyond the Netherlands, establishing connections and networks in other countries in Europe and beyond. This has led to increased cooperation between international law enforcement agencies in an effort to disrupt the group's operations and dismantle its networks. There have been a number of successes in the efforts to combat the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations in the Netherlands. In addition, there have been a number of high-profile arrests and convictions of Mocro Maffia members in recent years. However, the fight against the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations is ongoing, and there are a number of challenges that law enforcement agencies must face. These include the group's use of violence and intimidation, its ability to adapt to changing circumstances and diversify its operations, and the challenges of tracking and disrupting its networks and activities. The Mocro Maffia is a significant and powerful criminal organization that has had a major impact on the Netherlands and beyond. While authorities are working to combat the group, the Mocro Maffia continues to be a major force in the country's drug trade and other illegal activities. International cooperation and a multifaceted approach that addresses both the immediate law enforcement issues and the underlying social and economic factors that contribute to the growth of these groups will be crucial in the ongoing fight against the Mocro Maffia and other criminal organizations. While the authorities and community groups are working to combat the group, the Mocro Maffia continues to be a major force in the country's drug trade and other illegal activities. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more informative and educational content.